Hey guys, real quick, before we get into it, do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. That way you don't miss out on any of the tea. Thanks.
And we're back.
We are back.
Revisiting a new topic today. I am good. How are we?
I'm doing okay.
Lots on our mind.
We're midweek, so, looking forward to getting over the hump of hump day and
It's
making
always
my way
Monday
to the
through
weekend.
Wednesday, right? And it's a little bit nicer after that.
It's all uphill from here.
All from here. So we are going to revisit another OG
Topic.
Pelican Briefs topic.
And what's that?
Which, interestingly, this was one of our most popular episodes. Now that I think about it,
this has been an episode that has gotten both. This episode we did an update on it.
We did do an
season
update
2 as well. So it's something we discussed in season 1. We did an update in season 2. We now have another.
And boy, is there an update!
And rightfully so. I think it is a topic that deserves attention. It's one that it's been important to both of us to continue to highlight. So what are we?
So we're talking about kind of updating on the years-long, and I do mean years. I want to emphasize plural, years-long debacle. I don't know the word I'm thinking of kind of the settlement surrounding systematic abuse in the Archdiocese of New Orleans and the Catholic school, which is not unique to New Orleans. This is played out in a lot of cities, but has taken on unique variables, if you will, in this city. Yeah. And there's been some pretty recent significant developments on where the case currently stands, kind of how abuse victims are navigating kind of the settlement payments and so forth. So can you kind of bring us up to speed on, where we left off, what the new developments are, and what this all means?
Yeah,
Go for it.
To talk about what is happening here specifically with the Archdiocese of New Orleans, we know that there have been several victims that have come forward with regards to sexual abuse that occurred at the hands of clergy members here in New Orleans, and also the systemic covering up of that abuse.
Both are equally. Yes.
The Archdiocese has participated in over decades. And so what has initially happened, right, is there were several lawsuits that were filed by victims against the church in an effort to, if you ask the Archdiocese about it, settle this with victims. The church filed for bankruptcy.
I forget
obviously,
about that part.
if you speak with victims about this, right, it was a further attempt for them to avoid being held accountable for being complicit in the abuse of children that were, put in the care of clergy members here within the Archdiocese. So just for, getting our listeners up to speed, the Archdiocese of New Orleans filed for bankruptcy in 2020. We are now in 2025, and we are just now getting a settlement. So the settlement amount is $230 million. I do want to call out some specifics with regards to that number, right? This isn't just a settlement amount for the victims, right? In filing for bankruptcy, any creditors that the church had are involved in this settlement. So the victims, I think, number in about 400 people. But then there's, banks, other loan holders, and all of those parties had to vote on whether or not to approve this settlement.
Yeah, you're right.
And you needed to have at least 2/3. So overwhelmingly, the victim did vote in favor of the settlement. I think initially there was some concern that there would be some holdouts. Some of the attorneys for a few of the victims did ask that there be a guarantee of $50 million related to the sale of some apartment properties that the church owns.
Okay.
That if that guarantee was added to the settlement, they would approve it. So only 2 victims out of, again, I think roughly 400 or so people, only 2 voted no.
Wow, okay.
Overwhelmingly, the rest of the church's creditors also voted in favor. The one group that held out is a group of bondholders. who are alleging that the church participated in some fraud as it relates to withholding interest payments and things as it relates to the bonds that they hold. So they are the others that voted against the settlement. But everyone else voted for it. It's at over 99% of the parties involved have voted in favor, which means it can move forward. It still needs to go to another hearing in front of the judge, and that's going to be happening actually a few days from now.
Is that more of a formality or?
Oh, so the judge still has to approve it.
Okay, got it.
So the parties who needed to be settled with have said, okay, we agree to these terms, we'll accept these terms. Now a judge needs to review that settlement and then actually approve that settlement for it to move forward.
Wow, that's
so this is a huge step. What is really unfortunate and frustrating is when you look at some of the quotes from Archbishop Amen from when lawsuits were initially being filed, there was kind of this idea that, we'll be able to settle this very quickly and we won't spend more than $7 million on this sort of thing.
Little did we know.
And this has turned out to be one of the most costly child sex abuse cases against the Catholic Church in the country. Just in legal fees. So this is not the settlement. This is not, this is not other expenses related. This is just in legal fees. The church has spent $50 million. So when you think about what $50 million could do, when you think about the fact that they've now gone and filed for bankruptcy, and now the entire structure of the Archdiocese is going to have to be restructured, and what that means, not just for churches, right, but for Catholic charities, for the schools, for all the ancillary organizations that really do good work in our communities and support some of the most vulnerable in our population. What this means for them and their funding and their ability to be able to continue to do that work, because the church has gone and spent $50 million on legal fees for crimes that they were, if not directly committing, absolutely complacent in clergy members committing, and even participated in covering that up. So it is so very frustrating when you think about not only the years of abuse that these victims suffered, the years of gaslighting related to the fact that they were abused, that they suffered, and then the indignities of the church not taking ownership for what occurred when these kids were in their charge, to not just say, we were wrong, the clergy was wrong, we participated in something that was abhorrent, and this is how we're going to ensure that it doesn't happen again, and this is how we're going to rectify it for those that it did happen to. To not just step up and take ownership for this is just so infuriating, and
that's really important. A lot of the victims, when you watch news, and The Guardian has reported significantly on this, local news, you're citing all these statistics and all these things, but at the end of the day, what a lot of these victims just wanted was can you just admit it?
Right.
And they couldn't even get that. And that just adds so much salt to the wound. That's all we want.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even do that.
Yeah. Own up to what has happened and show us actionable
remorse.
Ways you are ensuring that it does not happen again.
But no, we have to drag it out.
Time after time, in city after city across the globe, we see that, that continues to be the frustration.
Yeah. Absolutely.
From victims, but also from members of the community, and it continues to just be an additional indignity that they have to suffer.
And tell us how church members are involved in this indirectly. Like, how are they? Because they are impacted by this, right?
So again, you've now had church buildings that have been sold off. You've had parishes that have had to close.
Y'all got to help us pay for this.
Right. You have the church essentially looking at their congregants and going, hands out. Can you drop some funds into the offering plate so that
Literally.
we can pay for this. And so I think that's a frustration and an indignity for the congregation, right?
1,000%.
Of we were not complicit in this. We did not participate in this. And yet now you're looking to the faithful to open their purses to pay for your crimes.
Yep.
So it's very frustrating. And again, as I mentioned, when you look at the other organizations and entities that fall under the jurisdiction of the Archdiocese, whether it's, foster programs for children, whether it is, programs for those with disabilities, programs for the elderly. I mean, there's so much that the Archdiocese directly or indirectly oversees within our communities, beyond just the churches.
Yep.
That will be impacted by this. And so it's frustrating, but it's at least a relief to see this approaching some sort of end and some sort of resolution, at least for the Archdiocese of New Orleans. We do know that just a few days ago, the Archdiocese in Alexandria has also now filed for bankruptcy. So
I did not know this.
What? Fresh off the presses.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
No
similarly
way. Wow.
to what has occurred here in New Orleans, in an effort
And that was recent.
Days ago.
Wow.
Literally
Okay.
just
I
days
did
ago.
not know this. Okay.
So in an effort to resolve the lawsuits related to abuses from clergy members, now the Archdiocese of Alexandria is going the same route as the Archdiocese of New Orleans. We can only hope that this is not going to take 5 years to resolve.
I'm gonna hope. Yeah.
Unlike what has happened here in New Orleans. But yeah, we continue to see the same pattern and the same situation and the same issues, just replicating itself.
Are there, because I don't know, are there similar lawsuits that have been filed and are playing out in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Shreveport, or is it just New Orleans and as of Alexandria?
So there are other lawsuits throughout the state. I know for sure there are lawsuits within the Lafayette area.
Okay.
I don't know if any of them have reached the size and scale of what has happened in New Orleans.
Okay.
I know for Alexandria, I believe they said it was about 40 clergy members that are covered by the lawsuits that are being filed. So I would expect to see similar things happen if we're seeing lawsuits of the same size.
So do you think the judge, in a few days, this judge will approve it? Is that where we're?
I imagine.
Why would they not at this point?
So unless there is something kind of buried within the settlement language that gives the judge some pause, or unless there is some really significant thing with relation to the fraud that's being alleged by the bondholders that were resistant to the settlement, that might, cause the situation to bottom out, I would imagine that the judge is going to approve this. This has been one of those cases where I think one of the things that's been very frustrating for the judge overseeing is the tactics to drag this out, the ballooning legal expenses that have occurred. So I think that really and truly all parties involved are really in a place where they are ready to see this resolved. So again, unless there's something, really critical that is a cause of concern, I don't imagine that the judge overseeing this case is not going to approve the settlement and move it forward.
Interesting. And another thing I want your take on, because I don't even know what I think about this. Do you think it had to be 2/3 of the victims as a threshold? Do you think majority of these victims agreed to this because they agreed to this, or they agreed to this to finally just end this?
I think it's probably a combination of the two, right? I think that, in the same way that the church has ballooning legal fees, the victims have ballooning legal fees as well. I think that at some point, this has to come to an end. I can't imagine personally what it must feel like and what these people have gone through to constantly have to revisit this, whether it's depositions, whether it's, this continuance has been filed, this, additional paperwork has been filed. So to constantly have to revisit this trauma, to constantly have to essentially beg the church to acknowledge your trauma, I think at some point has to become just so painful and so demoralizing. And so I do think that, we're 5 years into this. There is some level of fatigue that has probably set in.
Fatigue.
We are ready for this to end. Also, at some point, with what the church is spending in legal fees, are you going to reach a place where there is nothing? The legal fees have drained everything out of this, that if this keeps going 10 years, 15 years, you finally reach a settlement and there's actually nothing there for you guys.
True.
So I think finding that balance of financial restitution for those victims, as well as a timely resolution, is sort of where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, we've been forthcoming with our podcast that you and I attend a Catholic school, and one of the priests at the center of this was a priest at our school, and so we have a very intimate, really trying to grasp this because we were a product of this system. And I think what you and I just really hope for is, they deserve so much. They deserve dignity, and they've never gotten that. Yeah. And I really don't even think it's about the money.
It isn't.
It isn't. Like, can you just validate that
what
went
has
through
happened?
This? Right.
It's about accountability. It's about remorse. And it's about rectifying this, right?
Sincere remorse.
And I don't think that the church has done a good job in any of those categories,
Categorically.
I don't think they have done a good job of taking accountability. I don't think they have shown sincere remorse. I mean, one of the things that came out in this is, the use of public relations from the professional sports teams here in helping craft statements and to get around what has been happening. And so,
which is not talked about as much, but it's definitely a big role in all of this.
Right. And so I think the continued insistence on skirting around just being forthright and saying, this is what occurred. This is, the shortcomings that allowed this to happen. We are sorry. We are genuinely remorseful for this. And this is how we're ensuring that it doesn't happen again.
Yes.
And we still have yet to.
Which, to remind people, in terms of the settlement, the payment is just one part. There are other things
There's
that
other
are the guardrails
right.
that have to be put in place in terms of databases and you have to do
Publicizing.
this and this, right? So that's, just to make sure, there are other things at play in terms of this grand settlement, right? That hopefully will come to an end, right?
So hopefully, we will see some resolution to this.
I hope so.
In the coming weeks. So again, in a couple days, it'll go before the judge. The judge will review and will make a determination whether or not to approve it. The other piece that is still kind of hanging out there that we don't have an update on and we haven't really heard anything about is the criminal side of this, right? We know that
we devoted a whole episode to we haven't even gotten to that part.
We still haven't gotten to that part. So we know that while all of this is going on, the Louisiana State Police did start a criminal investigation into the child sex abuse that occurred.
Yes.
The priest that was at the center of all of this, Lawrence Hecker, has since passed away. I don't know what impact that does or doesn't have on the Louisiana State Police investigation because it did extend beyond just his actions and behavior. Right. I would say more so than a financial settlement, something that would probably be really reassuring and probably very healing for victims is actual criminal responsibility, right? And whether it is here in New Orleans, whether it's Boston, whether it's over in Ireland, we have seen case after case after case after case from a civil standpoint as it relates to the systemic sexual abuse that has happened within the Catholic Church. We haven't seen nearly as much criminal investigation and criminal accountability. And I think that is something that really would make a huge difference. for communities, for victims, is to actually see someone have to take criminal responsibility for these crimes that were committed.
Man. Well, we're going to continue to follow this.
We will. We will
right?
absolutely follow this. We will follow what's happening in Alexandria.
Got me on that one. I was like, whoa, I'm not surprised, but didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, well, thank you for updating us on this. I think it's a very important topic that's very near and dear to us. So, we'll keep
so we'll make sure that we include resources in the show notes with regards to what is going on within the church. And if you or someone you know is traumatized by what has occurred, we definitely want to make sure that you have the resources to reach out. If there are any other topics that you as Pelican Brief listeners would like us to be bringing to the attention of our communities, definitely let us know, leave a comment, send us a DM. We want to be on top of those things that are most important to our community and maybe not necessarily getting the attention that it deserves. We don't want anyone to feel forgotten or overlooked. And until next time, thanks for listening, guys.
Bye, Pelican Briefers.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Pelican Briefs.
If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
If you are loving the show, you can help us keep the conversation going by supporting us on Patreon.
Your contribution on Patreon ensures we can continue producing quality content you love.
Click the link in the description to become a patron today.
Until next time, this is Pelican Briefs.